Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I am Brigid Burke and today is the 17th of November. Yes, it is the 17th, 2024. I am unfiltered today, so if I look a little tired around the eyes, it's because I've left filters off. Good morning, Alex. I was watching Phil's live stream the other night and he was talking about when people use filters, even if they're natural filters, you can always tell. So I was like, all right, see what I look like without a filter. See how much better that is than using the filter. Good morning. Yeah, typically the only reason I use Instagram filters, and I use very mild ones, is because the lighting in here is usually very, very poor. And like I said, it makes me look much paler than it kind of just emphasizes that. So I like something that kind of takes that emphasis away a little bit. But we'll go without it today. We're going to go natural. And you can see how tired my eyes are. Very weird morning this morning, and I woke up and I couldn't, I woke up and I was in a lot of pain, and I had to go downstairs and try to do some exercises. It was extremely painful just to get myself being able to move again. And mind you, I am somebody who kind of works out on a fairly regular basis, but I just felt I was just in a lot of pain this morning. I had to, I was really kind of, struggling to get going. And I always think about that. I'm like thinking, and I just think about the fact that all of these things that they kind of, I think a lot of people see me come on and they think, oh, Bree just oh no, I hope you're starting to feel better. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm fine. The fact that I'm sitting in a chair right now is it's a good thing. But the thing is, I feel like there's been certain things where I think people feel like I have, because I do a lot of stuff, I think people think I have this boundless energy and wow, Brigid just really go, go, go. And then Brigid's body is hating on her real bad. So I am having, it's been kind of a weird week or whatever, but this is kind of a chronic thing. So it's like everything women have to deal with in their lives. We just kind of get used to the pain of certain things. Whether we should or not, I don't know, but, I don't know what kind of choice I have. But in any case, I did want to, this morning, one of the things I was going to talk about was, I don't have a specific topic for today. I have been, it's so funny because as we're moving, as Saturn has gone direct, Alex says, I think that checks out, even 12th house Mars placement, I think we can look boundless. Yeah. Well, exactly. And when you're doing a lot of different things, then I think people feel like you need to be surely you're Superwoman who's able to handle 8 million things at once. And truthfully, when I was younger, that was kind of the way I was. I worked 14-hour days, and I know I've talked about that before. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, but the thing is, and I think I'm at a point that I think a lot of people are at right now with the shifts that are going on, which is that we all feel called to do something new. We're called to build something new. And in this space, we're trying to do this in a space where we feel, where we're exhausted, I think. So it's a matter of saying, okay, I'm exhausted, but I also know that I'm being called to action, to take action, to make a new plan, to do something else. To start mapping the course for whatever the new life is for us. For me, personally, my North Node is conjunct, it's in, yes, absolutely is what you're saying here, Alex. And it's, my North Node is in my natal chart is at 0 degrees of Pluto in Aquarius, which is where we're going to be on Tuesday. And the last time Pluto went into Aquarius, which was back not this past May, I think, but the one before. There was a big shakeup then too. And I'm like, okay, I'm just there's going to be a big shakeup and I'm tired. I'm starting to feel like that dog that sits in the flames and going, this is fine. But I don't know. I don't know that it's necessarily that I feel bad about things. It's just that these last few days I haven't had, I've kind of, put classes off, not handled appointments. I'm possibly going to be meeting somebody today who I met at the AMA program. She said she'd wanted to meet up because she lives in, Milford, actually. She lives in the town where I work. So I said, yeah, if she reaches out to me later this morning, then maybe I'll meet with her this afternoon. But otherwise, I'm just trying to take things slow slower than I have been because I feel like I've needed to sleep a lot. I mean, I'm getting things done. I'm getting readings done for next week. I have Aries, Taurus, Gemini I did yesterday, and I'll be doing Leo, Virgo this morning. But I got an interesting Azrael message this morning. So today basically was going to be a day where I was just going to do some readings and let's just see where we are with the energy because I know I was looking out the window this morning and I could see the moon. Jupiter is very close to the moon and Uranus is just below it. And I know there's this conjunction kind of that's going on here. And this, Uranus, Jupiter, I don't know if it's an opposition. They are quite close. So I don't know if that's more of a conjunction than an opposition, but everything's in Taurus right now. So there's a lot of activity there, and my feeling is, I just thought this morning, I'm like, okay, I'm in such a disorganized mental state that I thought let's just do our live stream with just doing a few readings. But okay, but I did have my, like I said, I get up, I always do my get my first cup of coffee, and then I do my protection rituals, I do my grounding rituals, and then after I do all those. I sit down and I will start. I will ask my guides like what the messages are for first thing in the morning. And Maka and Azrael both had very similar messages for me this morning about joy. And interestingly, the first message I got from Azrael was like, what was it? It was like Ukim Teofi. I forget what the other word is. It's like Mayim or something like that. But basically, it's don't frown not at the continuance of terror, is what he's saying. So in other words, the fact that there's things that are still going on that are chaotic, he's saying don't worry about that. That was an interesting phrase that he had used. But he was saying something like you will triumph by the implication was like flowing with the waters will allow you to triumph. It was some phrasing like that. And I said, well, okay, I've been hearing a lot about this lately. Like, I've been doing readings that are saying the way, and you've probably heard me say this on here too, the way forward is through your intuition, right? Now, the thing is, when we've got Saturn involved here, Saturn is always challenging us and saying, yeah, okay, but what does that mean? Like, how are you going to take what you intuit and manifest it? You know, this is the challenge within Pisces, right? It's like, okay, you allow yourself to be in that space where things can come to you, where you may have visions. I have had some weird visions over the last few days. Sometimes I will have them just before going to sleep or just when I wake up, and I'm not asleep when I have them, so they're not dreams. I don't call them dreams, but I will have these kind of visuals that come in my head. I'll see images of places or people or things, and different things happening. So I'm looking at those things and. You know, and I said, okay, I know there's a meaning in this, and I know there's a meaning in dreams, certainly. I was watching something yesterday about an alternate reality game called Local 58, and there's this guy, his channel's called Norman's Index or something like that, and he actually did a really good analysis of this particular ARG. And I occasionally on Katonia do, good morning, Suda, I occasionally do ARG analyses. And I did some on Katonia. I did one called White Stag Education, and I think I was also looking at certain the symbolism of certain short films and things like connected to Skinnamarink and things like that, where I feel that feminine symbolism is there. And so Local 58 actually has a lot of Greek mythology in it, and a lot around the moon and around dreaming. So I was like, ooh, I gotta do a video on that myself, but. You know, we'll see when I have time to do it. But yeah, his video was really, really good. It was very thorough analysis. And although his conclusions, he's not like, he's an astronomer guy. He's not like a Greek mythology guy. So I was like, I drew a different conclusion from what this ARG was showing. I was like, oh, I see what they're trying to paint here. So anyway, I'll talk about that another time. But there was a lot, okay, I guess the point being is that there's a lot of messages around dreams. The dreams right now around this full moon are extraordinarily potent, and you know, this is a good time if you don't normally write your dreams down to try to write them down. There are still people, and I know I even had a dream last night, and it was probably earlier in the night, and I didn't remember it by morning, and I was like, darn, I should have stopped and written it down. But I have been having dreaming again. I wasn't dreaming for a little while, and then I've been dreaming kind of almost regularly. And there's been other time things. I've had more dreams in the last week than in the last 10 years. Yes, that's good that we're having this this class coming up on next Saturday, which I'm going to advertise again today. Actually, I want to put out a thing that's got all of the stuff that's upcoming, like for the rest of November and the beginning of December, like what I'm doing in terms of what people can participate in. I've not been posting a lot on that kind of stuff lately because I've just been in such a kind of a weird haze, trying to spend more time focused on getting my health back in order, because lately it just seems like it's a runaway thing. And again, a lot of it is just having to do with hormones and stuff, so it's not even something that I can, some of it is just out of my control, so I just have to kind of work within it. But I got another Azrael message this morning, because I asked him, I said, okay, there's all these messages around intuition. We're telling people, follow your intuition, follow your intuition. I mean, it sounds like a cliche, so I'm like, okay, so what do we mean? Can we be a little less vague than that? What does it mean to, why are you saying, why is this the thing that you're saying to people right now? Why is this the advice you're giving to people? Follow your intuition. And here's I actually kept the message out. It says, it's gra und monon pashas, is actually, that's the second part of it. The first part of it was Ohorela kokazba uneg anayao. Okay, I'm reading you the Enochian. And the translation is, let me translate that second half first. He says, the law of the age of time requires secret wisdom. Okay, that was the first half of it. The second half is, with something Gra has to do with the moon, but he says, the moon calls you to have the heart of children. So this is quite interesting. We're called to have the heart of children. But the law of the ages, the law of time. Now, time. When I think time, I'm thinking of Saturn, right? I'm thinking of time ages, the way that we measure time. And it requires secret wisdom. So, in other words, what that says to me is that whatever the laws are of the universe that we don't really necessarily see. I think these are things that are a bit beyond, as we said, our day-to-day experience in the sphere that we're in. He said they require secret wisdom. So in other words, there's this requirement of secret wisdom. So what that means is that not everything is going to, the truth is not necessarily going to be obvious and in front of your face. Some of it is secret, and the only way you're going to tap into it is to have the heart of a child, is what he's saying. You have to be open to things that your adult self is going to analyze and dissect and say, well, and want to discredit because it doesn't come from the realm necessarily of rationality and logic, strictly speaking. Or maybe or maybe it will be showing you something that you think that, based on current circumstances, is not apparent to us. And that, of course, is the way intuition works. We often are seeing things, and sometimes that's the way we can distinguish that from logical knowing, too. Because if we see something coming and we say, oh, well, that's very sensible, and I could see, how these causal steps could occur to make this happen, then the question becomes, well, did we just reason it out correctly, or was that our intuition, right? So I think it may be things that right now they may be saying, maybe the opposite of what we're seeing. And he's saying, you have to look at it more, and to look at it with the heart of a child is to look at it with new eyes, with a new way. And he said that that this is the law of the ages requires secret wisdom. So in other words, there's this sense of not everything is just going to be apparent, revealed to you, and clear in the external circumstances. So it was an interesting message this morning, and it was pretty, and I don't know why I'm always astonished by these kind of very, very direct messages from Azrael through what I'm doing, but, I shouldn't be. I shouldn't, especially since what I'm telling everybody, but we still kind of get into that thing of that Seven of Cups space. Am I seeing this for real or am I not? And so it's just rather interesting that he says this. So I don't know. So I'm going to do some readings, and I want to talk about what's the secret wisdom we're looking for right now, or what is if we're looking at things with the heart of the child, what sort of advice do we have as far as that goes? So I'm going to start by using these guys. And good morning, Sam. glad you could, or good afternoon, glad you could join us. And I was just talking about your favorite deity, Saturn, because I'm going to repeat this for Sam's benefit. The message I got this morning from Azrael was, I'll read it in the proper order this time. Ohorela kokazba unegananael gra und monon pasus, which is basically the law of the law of time requires secret wisdom. And the moon calls us to have the heart of children. That's literally the message I got from Azrael this morning. And so when I think of the law of the ages of time, I think of Saturn. That's what I was just saying, is that I think of Saturn, and that not everything, some things are held back. Not everything is revealed, and that's the only way you can access them. You know, you can access the truth, especially if you're afraid and confused or don't know which way you're going with something. I'm going to be pulling some cards here. I'm just doing some general readings. Wow, thank you. What was the word for time? Kokaspa. C-O-C-A-S-B is how it transliterates from the Enochian. But yeah, that's the word that comes up. And whether or not I'm saying all these Enochian words right, sometimes I have to say certain things and I'll have to ask him, I'm like, is that the right way to say it? And he'll be like, no. So it's just kind of funny. It's beautiful. Yeah. So, and the reason I brought this up is because I'm getting all these messages that are saying, you really need to be focused on your intuition right now and not what's in front of your eyes. And he literally said this morning to frown not, which is a very archaic phrase, ukim, frown not. Frown not at the continuance of terror. So there's still things that are going on that I know have everybody very stressed out. And he's saying, don't worry about that. He says, honor the fact that it was iaiotics. Honor the fact that the light is gathering, is what he said. The light is gathering. So he said, so we're at the beginning of where soon you're going to be able to see things very clearly. So I pulled some cards for today. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just starting with a Celtic cross, which I don't normally do in this one, but we're starting with the Page of Cups. So we've got these beautiful messages, right? Page of Cups, messages of love, messages around, could literally have to do with love, but a lot of times it just has to do with our feelings and with our intuition, right? And messages from intuition, right? We got our Page of Cups here. And what's crossing us, and it's interesting, in the readings I've been doing this week, this card comes up a lot, is the Devil, all right? And the Devil is our attachment to the material. It's our attachment to the senses, to what we see in front of us, okay? And in this case, it is something that is a barrier. That attachment, the Devil attachments the Devil can represent sensuality and enjoying the physical world and all that kind of stuff. I don't think the Devil always has to be a negative card. Sometimes it indicates needing to have a sense of humor about things too. But this card, what it's saying here is the Devil is, I think it's more saying that we are stuck in a way of thinking, or thinking that we're stuck. You know, you've got people here who are in chains, and the idea is, I have to view things this way, or, I'm looking at this thing in front of me and it's making me feel stuck. It's making me feel like, well, I'm not going to have any options. I don't have any choices. I really hate this or don't like that, but, but I have no choice, because, and it's the because. Oftentimes the because has to do with, again, this is just an example. I'm not saying this applies to anybody here, but, I really despise my job and I hate going every day, but, it's got benefits and, so I have to do it. That would be an example of a Devil thing, where you have an opportunity to do something new, but you choose not to because you're saying, I'm not going to do something new because, because there's something about it that we feel chains us to it. The chains of the mind. Yes, exactly. And it's too scary to think that we might take a risk and might lose that thing that we've been hanging on to, right? And they're saying, well, sometimes you have to let go of something. And believe me, speaking as a Taurian, it's very scary to say, okay, I'm going to let go of this sure thing. People thought I was absolutely nuts for letting go of a job that was paying me like $90,000 a year and I had full benefits. But I just, with the driving problem, with everything else, I'm like, no, I'm being called to do something radically different that I haven't done before. So that was my response to Uranus and Taurus initially. But so this is where I've kind of ended up. And I'm like, well, I'm still here. I'm still in my house. No, I don't have as much money as I did before, but, that could change. I'm not assuming that kind of thing is fluid. It's not like you're stuck in one space forever. But then you in that area of discomfort, you figure stuff out, right? You figure out what you got to do. And here's our root card, the High Priestess, right? I mean, what are we talking about? Intuition, hidden wisdom, right? The secret wisdom. Ananael, secret wisdom. There we go. That's at the root. Now, in the recent past, there has been something here. This is their Ten of Swords. Okay, so not only is there an ending, for some people we feel like this ending is a betrayal. Okay, and I think a lot of people can identify with that feeling. But even if you don't feel betrayed, there's definitely a situation where we feel that something has come to a definite end. A definite end, you know? This is not the dead parrot sketch, you know? He's not just resting, he's dead, right? You know? And so there's this sense of being dead. And right now, we've got this Knight of Pentacles energy, and it's interesting because, oh wow, I pictured the Ten of Swords before the reading. Wow. So there you go. See, there's your intuition kicking in right there. We have Knight of Pentacles here. Is really what's at the crown right now. And so this is about, and I've seen this again in all my readings this week, right now we need to take things one step at a time. You need to be slow and steady. As far as taking action, don't be in a rush. Kind of move through things slowly. Alex. Sounds like, yeah, so it's, one step at a time. Okay, so we're kind of trying to get our footing here with the Knight of Pentacles. We're stopping and saying, whoa, what's happening here? Let's get our footing. And yeah, the future looks like this right now. Seven of Cups. We're not really exactly what I said at the beginning of this live stream. We're not sure what's real and what's not real, okay? And we're trying to figure that out. But this is the only way. This is what's at the root. It's what we're not seeing that's going to determine what's real in this, you know, amongst all the options that we're seeing. Because I can also look at the Seven of Cups positively. I say positively, the Seven of Cups is about the way in which we, the Seven of Cups can have to do with the opportunities and possibilities. Okay, like the Piscean aspect of dreaming big. Oftentimes I will tell people who feel really stuck and really lost, I said, look at this as a positive exercise. Look at it as, sit down and think about everything you could possibly want. Because when we do that kind of an exercise, one of the things that we tend to do is say, okay, I'll give myself as an example. I really want to move to England, but visas are hard to get, and cost of living is very expensive. But you know what I mean? Like, as soon as you have the dream, you immediately start putting all the chains on it, start putting all the limitations on it, and saying, I don't think it can happen. Now, mind you, they're very real limitations that have to be thought through and addressed. But it's, or you have to wait for the right circumstances. I think Saturn, in terms of time, and I think that might be another thing too. When we say that the law of time requires secret wisdom, I think that has a lot to do with what I say about divine timing whenever I pull Thoth in a reading, a cartouche reading, is that it's a matter of time. When things are going to come in at the right time and you don't know what that is. Okay? You don't know what's unfolding. You may be trying to make a plan and putting things together. And again, they're not saying you shouldn't plan, but you have to recognize that it's that secret wisdom that's really going to tell you how you're going to go full steam ahead. So that's why it's saying pay attention. Okay, so right now we're seeing this card over. We go over to the right-hand side here, the Two of Swords. Yeah, this moment of decisiveness. It's kind of a moment of peace. It's a moment of truce. So, it's like, okay, in a space where not really where I want to be yet, but, but at the same time, it's not like I'm in a worse space. You're kind of in, it's like this tension here. You're holding steady. And again, there's the blindfold here, and you've got your heart is crossed by the two swords of intellect. Okay? So intellect is making you not, it's making you close your heart and not, because opening the heart is also akin to having what he calls monon pashas, the heart of a child, right? Opening up your heart. And here's the environment card. Wheel of Fortune. Stuff is happening, change is occurring that is out of your control. Hold that pose for hours and it'll hurt. Yeah, it will. Absolutely. Oh yeah, my God, can you imagine? Can you imagine if you really sat there and did this for hours? That'd be crazy. But we have this. We have the Wheel of Fortune. And in the environment here, having this Wheel of Fortune card, Yeah, there's change going on. Now, people interpret the Wheel of Fortune as a lot of things. Like Mercury retrograde's coming up, so some people will say, oh, it's stuff coming back around, and that could be part of it for some people. You could be revisiting things. Saturn is also about correction, okay? But I feel more this is the idea that we're in an environment that there's something going on that's bigger than us. I always feel that major arcana have to do with things that are kind of out of the realm of our control. Like the minor arcana is the stuff we can fix and we can move around. These are the things that we have to adapt to, okay, rather than take control of. Now our inner feelings and hopes and wishes. Okay, we have the Six of Swords here. Now on a personal level, obviously this is me wanting to go across the water, right? But I don't think that's what this card means here. I think it's a move away from anxiety and a move on to the next place. Let's let go of what needs to be let go of and let's move on. I think in the cat tarot, it's interesting, the mystical cats, is that they show this as a bunch of cats fighting and another cat walking away. And the idea is I want to walk away from the drama. Okay, I want to get away from the drama, from the anxiety. I want to move across the calm waters into a new place that's calmer. But right now, we're in a space of the Nine of Swords, where we are, right now, we're worrying about, it's interesting. If I look at these two cards together, this is not really knowing what's going on, and this is being worried about it, okay? This is where we're worried about what might happen. But the one thing about the Nine of Swords, we often see this card, and you see it as an outcome, it can be very dismaying. It can be like, oh, see, this means, you know. But I don't think, when this card has come up for me, frequently, in probably 98 to 99% of the cases when this card comes up, whatever the person is anxious and anguished about isn't what's actually happening or what's going to happen. Most of the time, it's that catastrophizing, as they call it in therapeutic language, that you are, it's like you're here and you're in a bad situation and you've just decided that you've seen a future chain of events and it's just going to get worse. And you don't actually know that because you haven't lived through that chain of events yet. And that's not your intuition talking. That's your, that's that sabotaging thing that says to us, oh, I can't do this. And, and it may come out of a space where, like I said, we may already be stressed about things. And then when we have more stress, it somehow just makes it worse. But of course, we're reminded at the crown here, slow and steady and keep your feet on the ground. When there's too much, it's not just when there's too much emotional energy. It's when there's too much mental energy. It's when our mind is, and it's so funny. This is what's at the bottom of the deck, right? It's, we are, we get ourselves, and we do it because that's the way we are, that's the way we're wired in this culture, I guess you might say. I mean, I don't think and I don't necessarily like that term because that seems to imply that we can't change that. This is why we're kind of being encouraged. No, you want to move more to intuitive knowing. You don't want to go to the knowing of the senses. Now, we were talking about, and I posted that Stephen Brown video where we were talking about the Pleiades and the way in which when they talk about something that's higher vibrational, what they mean is like moving into an it's like moving out of the realm of visible light and more towards a realm where the ultraviolet spectrum reigns. Now, our DNA can't take ultraviolet light, right? But it also occurred to me too, and I found myself thinking about this. I said, okay, if ascension means being able to move into a space where we're vibrating at the frequency of the violet light, I'm like, is that where we're getting the violet flame from too? The idea that the violet flame is something that comes in and transmutes something on levels that are not just physical. So that kind of occurred to me. I don't know whether that's a piece of wisdom or maybe it's just something that's bleeding obvious, but I don't know. It's just that kind of came into my head. Yeah, so that thought jumped into my head. I was like, what is this? And so, and it seems to me that all the landscapes, it's wisdom to me. Well, okay, well that's good. I mean, yeah, it just popped into my mind, and I thought, maybe that's what we're looking at here when the violet flame comes up. It's trying to say no. It's almost like we're trying to, and that's what it means to kind of like vibrate at a higher frequency, because the frequency we're at now, the frequency of visible light. According to this, it's like, because it's lower frequency, it's not because it's bad or it's evil. We tend to think of low and high. Again, as I say in my book, we tend to equate that with, bad and evil. Suda says agreed here. Yeah, it's, You've been researching the violet flame recently. Sam, you don't have to have conversation seriously outside of this because we seem to be doing a lot of the same things. Might be good to compare some notes here. But it's, yeah, but it's really, I just feel like we, you know, that's kind of, you really think so. Yeah, it's very much, we're kind of in this space where we are, they're trying to say, okay, if you want to get out of this state of anxiety, a lot of it is caused by being in a frequency that's low, not in the sense of, you know, one is good and one is evil, because that's not how it works. It's that the lower frequency is just where you don't have enough information available to you, because the sphere of visible light, as we deal with it, doesn't show us enough. There's more beyond that. What if we vibrate higher than those around us? Well, that can be, I think that's part of the reason too why we have a lot of call to meditation, towards kind of staying in our inner core and not listening to outer voices. Because if you feel like you're vibrating faster, think about it, it's almost like if you're driving somewhere and then all of a sudden there's a traffic jam. You know, it's like you have to slow down, you have to stop. And so that can be, figuratively speaking, that can be a difficult thing. When you can tell that people are not vibrating on that frequency, really, it's just a case that's a case where you kind of have to protect your energy a little bit from that, is kind of the way, what I have found. When I'm around people who I know, it's not just that they're not interested in this stuff. I mean, not everybody's going to be interested in this, right? But if people act in ways and things that really feel like they're going to drag you down, that's where you want to protect your energy and say, no, I'm going to stay at the frequency I'm at, and if they're not there, well, then they're not there. You know what I mean? Is that the feeling of stuckness? It could be part of it, because I think what happens is when we're around people like that, we kind of, the habit is to be in that mindset. The habit is to follow that pattern. So, yeah, when the people around us are not, you know, we're trying to forge into a new direction, or we're trying to increase that frequency of understanding, and other people are not there, then we start to doubt ourselves. We start to say, oh, well, maybe I'm just making this up. Maybe this isn't a thing. Maybe that's not really there, you know? And I think, you know, and then, so, you know, yeah, so then the mind can start to getting in. I mean, it's only, like I said, I don't think mental checks are bad. There are some people who can go way out and somewhere and can come up with conspiracy theories and all kinds of things that are, you know, that really should be checked by rationality. But I don't think that's what's happening with a lot of us, and I think a lot of us automatically assume that this is kind of what we're doing when people make us feel that way. It's like, oh, well, you didn't arrive at that through this, well, then you, and you're just involved in all that woo-woo stuff, and you don't know what you're talking about. Wow, I just had a whole bunch of cards fly out at me here. Yeah, so that feeling of stuckness can come from that. Oh, not that far, thankfully. Yeah, no. I don't think any of us are that far. I mean, we're just recognizing that there's more to what's going on than meets the eye, and we're trying to figure out what that means for us, and maybe what that means in terms of what we're doing. I just feel that you can't rely solely on the mind for that. If I just rely on what's in front of me, how many people do I know who said, well, no, I'm going to go with this job, and I'm going to work here for 25 years, and I'm going to have the retirement, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. All the practical steps that people tell you, saying 2 feet in the earth but open, right? And I can't tell you how many times people have had the plan, and then something screws the plan up. Maybe they get sick and they can't keep working. Maybe, like with COVID, a lot of people shut down. Some people lost their jobs. I know somebody who was planning on a retirement at a certain time, and all of a sudden they decided, because that person hadn't been there a certain length of time, that they were only going to pay 1% into their retirement or something. So their plan was completely thrown off. And that's just the thing. It's okay to have a plan, but it has to be a flexible plan. You know, things can be, and we have to recognize that there's secret wisdom, there's secret wisdom. There's more going on in the universe, and that certain things, even if we have made up our mind that we want to do something and we're going to go for it, we may not necessarily be in control of how the timing is on that. That doesn't mean we should give up on it, but we might have to, if we have tried and things haven't worked, okay, I might have to put that aside for now. or I might have to work towards it in a different way or think about it in a different way. Because, maybe there's just something right now that says, you're not ready to do this. Let's look at our astrology reading here. And our first house here is 9th house. Okay, so this is Sagittarius energy. This again has to do with higher vibration, higher frequency, because the 9th house is about it's about Jupiter. It's about expanding. Okay, it's about expansion of our knowledge. It's expansion of our spirituality. It's about freedom. Okay, the 9th house is connected to that. It's about travel. It's about moving away from something, going far away from something. So this is almost like going someplace that's far away from what you know, and it's in the environment of Yod. Okay, which is the Yod aspect, which is a card of destiny. And even though we're seeing this term destiny here, which sounds like, oh, it's fate and it's going to kind of carry me or whatever. I mean, yes, it is, but it doesn't. But Yod path is never an easy path. There's always work to be done. And as we can see, moving into a new space for a lot of us, it's not just like, oh, yay, I'm going to move into a new space. It's like everything that goes along with it. There's all kinds of emotions and feelings and attachments and anxieties and, and speculation about how things are going to work out. It's not easy to be in a new space and to try to do things a new way. It's much easier, much more comfortable to go back to the old way. Now, what's interesting, though, is that what we're not seeing here is the 4th house. Okay, now this is, again, come up. This is Cancer energy. But 4th house is also something that's rooted in the past. Okay, so that's the piece that we're not seeing here. There's something from the past that's informing the present. And for us, I mean, for some people, that could be ancestral. I think on the broader scale, 4th house could, there's something. It just feels to me like there's something in the past that has to be rectified. Because the other card I was seeing a lot was Chiron. And the U.S. is going through its Chiron phase right now, like in dealing with its Chiron wound. But also individually, we've had the Chiron class. In fact, even though Chiron's not in this reading, I do want to read what it says really quick. I see we're already at 7:37, so I'm going to try to hurry myself up a little bit here. But Chiron, I feel, is back here. Those are the houses. I just got to find where it is because I don't have the card here. Elements, nodes, eclipses, part of fortune, Yod, Jupiter return, Mercury retrograde. Yeah, I don't know. I'm missing it in here. Where is Chiron? Well, Chiron might actually be up with the planets. I just got to see where it is. Okay, well, you know what? I'm not finding it easily, so maybe I'll do that next time. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time. But I was reading the Chiron thing this morning. It was really, really interesting what it was saying about that wound and about what. And I just felt like some of it had an applicability. Maybe if we have time, I'll look for it again. But the 4th house is, something is rooted in the past. So what is it telling us to do? And this keeps coming up all the time, like 6th house energy, Virgo energy. Get organized. Get your health in order. Get your life in order. In other words, there's a lot here about, like that was it. What the Chiron card said was there's something from the past that has to be healed before you can move forward. So make sure that what needs to be healed from the past, is taken care of. We need to look at the details right now. Like, okay, rather than saying, okay, I'm just going to take a dive into this new life, it's like, well, what's still outstanding from the old? And we've seen that quite a bit lately. And we have 2 outcomes here. We have air element, which is communication. Okay. So I think, Mercury retrograde is going to have something to do with this, but this may also just be about the way in which we, air is about movement. It's about travel. It's about how we communicate with people, how we open up, how we express what it is that we want and that what we need. Okay. So we have air element. And then we also have the Aries card. And that's interesting because we have a lot of these planets like Neptune, Saturn, they're all going to be moving into Aries probably around May next year. So but this is this energy of beginning once again. So it's kind of finding the appropriate place for mind, for thought, for communication. There's a sense of kind of get moving on what it is that you want to finish up. I am going to look at the air element card actually because I think there's a specific thing that they have at the beginning here. Think it over first. Put some mental effort before you put your talk into action. Sort it out. Okay? So right now, we are having these things, but in order to manifest them, and it is telling us to take action. It's not telling us to not take action, but it's saying, think everything over carefully. Make sure that you are taking everything into account from the past before you move forward, that you're not just kind of saying, oh, well, and ignoring something that maybe you need to be paying attention to. So, so that seems to be part of this. So I feel like there's almost like a reckoning that's happening before we actually get into a space of feeling like we are, that we're moving into the new. Okay, and that seems to be what's going on right now, and that's what's uncomfortable. But one thing you can say about it, though, is if you are going to reckon with things that have not been finished, at the very least, that is something familiar. Like get those loose ends tied up. So then you're not stuck anymore, right? And that's what I think we're being called to do, is to kind of figure that out, and of course then to follow our intuition about where we're going in the future. Okay, so, oh God, look at this. All right, first card is comparison. Okay, and I think I brought this up the other day, the way in which we compare ourselves to others, and the idea that we need to stop doing that, because that's part of what our limitation is. We have an idea based on what somebody else is doing of what we should be or where we should be going, and we say, oh, well, I'm not successful because I'm not that. And this is saying that's not, don't compare yourself to others. Your path is unique. Everybody's path is unique. Even if we go on similar paths, our paths are unique. The inner feeling of which we're unaware. Breakthrough card. Okay? There is a breakthrough. This is actually the justice card. And so this is a breakthrough to truth. So that is also why we're being told to access our intuition, because it's saying unconsciously, you've had the breakthrough. You know what the truth is. Okay? And actually, even externally, you're beyond illusion. This is judgment. Okay? Beyond illusion. Beyond that space where we... this is all about working in perfect clarity, and therefore this way of thinking is not going to cut it. There's a clarity coming in about the path, and you already have external information about it, but there's also internal information that will give you the breakthrough. That will be that, breakthroughs are what? Those epiphanies, those aha moments where we say, oh, now I know what I need to do. And that is something accessed internally, is what this is saying. And the reason I kind of made it, here's our Wheel of Fortune again. Here's our Wheel of Fortune again. Came up again in this reading. This is what it's saying. You're flowing with change. And as I often said, if you're going to flow with change, you want to stay in the middle. Okay? Staying in the middle of this. When you're on the wheel, that's that point of stillness. You stay in the middle. So, but a point of stillness is not... It's not always about mental energy. In fact, it's not about mental energy. It's kind of by watching your thoughts go by kind of energy. And when you're in a place of stillness, it's like a place of quiet. You're in that quiet space where you recognize that life is moving around you, and you're not really making any kind of a judgment about it. You're not thinking about it, and you're not trying to work it out, not trying to find the pattern. You're just letting it be what it is. Okay. When you're on that wheel, because when there's a lot of change, because if you're on the edge of the wheel, then you just kind of get dragged around and around and around. I think this is kind of very similar. This is probably why we have the idea of samsara, right, in Hinduism and Buddhism, where you're on this wheel where you just keep going around and around and around, and they teach you like really the place you need to be is in the middle, because things are going to continue to go around and around and around, but you don't have to be dragged around and feel like you're going to puke by the end, by doing that. You can find that place where you step back and go, whoa. I heard a Wheel of Fortune is full of opportunities. Is that right? Yes, it is, because it's all the possibilities for the future. Wheel of Fortune is about, it can be where, because the wheel is turning, it can also be things coming around. It could be opportunities that we thought we lost that are returned. It can be things from the past that come back. And now, because like I said, with judgment here, there's a sense of rebirth or resurrection. So it could be that something is, remember we said the past might be important here, but it can also represent that shift in the future that we don't quite know what it is yet, and therefore it's filled with possibility. It's filled with possibility, opportunity, but like I have with the Seven of Cups card, we're not really quite sure what that is yet, which is why we have to access this kind of inner space. And what is the outcome here? We have, again, our Page of Wands, playfulness. We're back to play, back to what we said right at the beginning of the live stream. Umonon Pashas. We're called to have the heart of children. So it's about play. Like when you're in a space, if you think about that with a child, though, when you have a child who doesn't know things, who hasn't been to school, you think about children who are like, I don't know, between like the ages of 2 and 5 or something, And I mean, nowadays kids go to school very early. I have a grandniece who's a 2 and she's, she has to go to school. Her daycare is also a school. Something I wouldn't have imagined as a kid, but, I grew up in the 70s, so that was a whole different thing. But there's this, with kids, it's just that when you want to learn something, it's like you explore it, like you see something on TV or you see something somewhere and it grabs your attention and then you try to act it out, or you and your friends play at something and, we're going to play at this, or we're going to be that today. Whatever it is. Whether it be hide and go seek, whether you're in somebody's place playing house, whether you try to learn at things by imitating, by doing. You kind of say, you say, okay, I'm going to play and this is going to stand for this and this is going to stand for that. And, and that's how you do it. Or if, like I said, if you're playing more like sports type games, then, there's some rules that you have to follow. But within those rules, okay, here's the parameters. And now we're going to go play and see what the outcome is, right? But there's not necessarily, when you start doing play, there's not a predetermined outcome to that play. I mean, the kind of point is to play the game, right? It's to play. The point is not, I mean, people do get competitive and say, well, who's going to win at the game? But I don't think this is necessarily about winning. It's about the way in which we sort things out through allowing our imagination to take us in certain places. Like if we're going to use those thought processes, if that's where we're going to use our mental energy, use it to imagine, something differently. And that's hard for us. We're not in a space where we're used to playing. And we're very serious people and we make very serious plans. But that may not be what's called for right now. If you're going to, and it is very hard when you've been through life. If you go back and revisit things from your childhood, things that maybe even meant a lot to you as a child, you look back at them now and they don't feel the same because you've been through the cycles of experience. You're a grown up. You have a different role now. You're doing different things, but. So it's not only so, but I don't know, but that could also be why it's saying the past is the key to the present, because maybe it's like something from the past that you need to recapture. I feel like, and this isn't necessarily true of everybody, but I feel like we all have that moment where we are able to escape into imagination, or we're able to imagine things in a way that's different than when we are taught in school how to reason things out and analyze things. So it's almost like kind of returning to that space in a way. And the way to do that is sometimes through play. Definitely feels like unlearning. Yes, unlearning is a good word, and that is the word that's actually, I think, used a lot particularly in Buddhist meditation. I've heard that phrase used, that you have to unlearn everything you've learned. And that is, it's in a logical sense, it doesn't feel like it makes a whole lot of sense. But when you take it from that experiential sense, that point of that point of samadhi, or that point of feeling like you're quiet and you're just observing, you can get back to that space, but we often don't stay there because, like you said, Sudha, it's the people around us. We kind of get caught up in their stuff. So, yeah, it's very interesting, and again, we're not, none of this, we have the Yoda aspect. Nobody's saying that this is easy. This is all you have to do. If it was that easy, we wouldn't be saying it over and over again, right? I mean, it's even hard for someone like me who has spent last 3 years just trying to get out of that space. I'm much better at this than I was 3 years ago. I can tell you that. Because initially, the doom and gloom scripts had to keep coming in all the time going, yes, but you haven't figured out this, and when are you going to pay for that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, it was just coming in all the time. And over time, it was like I had to be shown that, okay, don't panic. Your guides are saying, don't panic. It will become sorted out. But you're trusting a little bit more in the universe, and we are not really taught to trust. That's not the way we're taught from the time we're children. We're taught that we're not trustworthy and that the universe isn't trustworthy. And which is why we're taught that the facts that we see in front of us are the only things that matter. But this is kind of saying, no, there's a secret wisdom here, and timing has a secret wisdom to it as well. So it's interesting stuff. But anyway, we're at 10 of, so I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. And yeah, today I have no idea what I'm doing today, actually, unless I'm going to meet Badra. I don't know if I'm going to meet her or not, but otherwise I'm going to be going with the flow today. I know, I have to finish readings for this week and put those up, and that's the only thing I think on the agenda. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Yes, you too, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful Sunday. Take care.